So there is a lot of positive news recently about the EU. We seem to have been, or at least there really seems to be, since Rishi Sunak came in, a more pragmatic view to working with the EU. That it seems to now be an understanding that working with the EU is actually good and has positive benefits and has positive outcomes for the UK, which was a great sea change from the Boris Johnson years and, of course, the Liz Truss years, where basically we're not even interested in talking to the EU. Thank you very much. Even in official documents, if you may remember when we covered that some years ago now, where Boris Johnson expressly said the UK would not be interested in talking with the EU or having any negotiations of any sort with the EU until at least 2022. Randomly just deciding that was when we should have start talking again with the EU. But hey, there you go. But of course, there are still a lot of Brexiteers in sort of the current government. They are still sort of very, very pro Brexit. But of course, the big news was, of course, the financial services and cooperation agreement, which is going to allow sort of UK and European regulators to meet on a biannual basis, which is going to be sort of good because again we are a service-based economy. 80% of our economy is based around services, so we sort of need to at least try and regain some sort of access to the EU, even though this agreement is more about not, shall we say, opening the door, or shall we say, rejoining sort of the EU type institutions. It at least will keep us aligned with EU regulatory stuff, which will be good, of course, eventually for when we do rejoin. But of course, the big news is, of course, potentially, possibly over this weekend, we may see that the UK could, and I say could, rejoin the Horizon program. So, before we get more into talking about this, please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, well, buy me coffee. And of course, as always, there is the Pony Club down below, and of course, the YouTube thank you button as well. And like I say, thank you very much to everyone who does help support the channel. Even if you do, just click on the like and share button. And of course, remember, we are now on Threads as well. So do look out for Bowler Hat Man on Threads. If you are on Threads through Meta, we are on there, and we will also be posting our videos on there now when they come out. So if you want somewhere else to see stuff, well, there you go. So where are we? Yes, Horizon. Why is Horizon important? Well, purely for the fact that Horizon is a massive research initiative that involves all of scientists, universities, research institutions throughout Europe, all working together, looking at problems and how we can advance solutions to these problems, and more importantly, research. And of course, what does research cost? It costs a lot of money. And remember, historically, research of this type of thing has never very come from private institutions. It has always come from the government first, because the government has tend to sort of funded these research initiatives. Then, if the private industries see a potential profit from it, that's when they might pick up the research itself. So, very much so, government-funded research is highly important, something that we should absolutely do. And of course, you may remember Boris Johnson saying that the UK was going to become a science superpower, and everything that Boris Johnson and the Brexiteers tried to do fell on its face. And even at that time, many UK scientists were calling for the UK to remain part of Horizon. If you want us to be a science superpower, then we got to remain part of Horizon. We got to remain part of all those European projects, all those collaborative initiatives that were allowing us to work together to do that. And of course, how was Horizon being funded? Well, Horizon was being funded from EU money. And of course, when we left the EU, the question was asked, do you want to remain part of Horizon? And the UK said, no, thank you. We'll recreate our own Horizon program. And of course, it didn't work. It didn't work out at all. So now the fact that you've got the UK, or at least Rishi Sunak in this case, poised to potentially rejoin Horizon, which would be a big boost to scientists. You will see a lot of very happy scientists over the weekend if this does actually manage to get signed. There was unfortunately James cleverly saying that the UK might not rejoin Euratom. Again, which is sort of the EU's sort of nuclear arm of sort of research, development, and of course regulation when it comes to things like nuclear materials and sort of the transport of nuclear materials. I think we've talked about this a long time ago in the past. Us again not being part of Euratom going to be a big problem as well. But again, something that we can, of course, work to rejoining. And the big sticking point seems to be that the UK doesn't want to pay um, to rejoining Horizon, but I think they will. I think the benefits far outweigh any of the costs that we will pay to sort of the Horizon program. Of course, we've been the massive benefits of being part of this massive research collective as part of Europe, and ultimately, at the end of the day, it will be a massive benefit. Euratom again. I do not see why we are not rejoining Euratom as well. James cleverly said, James cleverly said recently at the negotiations that Euratom wasn't currently on the table. I highly doubt it, considering once again the UK wants to try and restart a lot of nuclear reactors in the sort of the small nuclear reactors and try and sort of lead on that. Well, if you want to really be part of that and really help push that even further, be part of Euratom is going to massively help that. So once again, it is showing that when the UK actually works with Europe and is part of these big sort of European-wide initiatives for sort of research purposes, we gain once again huge benefits out of it. And just yesterday, we did the video about how our all trade strategy is basically coming apart at the seams because you can't just rely on slogans. Eventually, you actually have to do stuff. And even they were saying, well, look, if we rejoin the EU, we'll get like 12 times the benefit of joining the Pacific Partnership. So, like I say, eventually that is ultimately the goal, and I am very happy. Anytime that we do sign stuff that allows us to sort of work with Europe, well, then that's one step closer to eventually one day rejoining the EU. And like I say, as we always said, it will be baby steps at first, but these are the types of baby steps that we need to do. The more and more you sign of these alignment deals, things like Horizon, the UK and working together, the better it becomes. One of the big things that we should, I think, really should push for is Erasmus, trying to get back into that. I think that should be a goal that we should try and push for as well, so that, UK students can go and, learn in sort of, European universities over there. And of course, Europeans can come and learn in our universities over here as well. I think that would be a massive boost to, well, the UK in general. And it would also eventually also help with feed into things like Horizon and Euratom as well. So there's a ton of stuff and a ton of things that we can do. And of course, eventually, as we said, the more and more stuff we do, the more and more and more, eventually it makes looking the whole Brexit argument just completely ridiculous and completely foolish. And then eventually, of course, once we've got these alignment deals, we'll then end back in the single market. And once we're back in the single market customs union, we'll then end back in sort of the EU as a whole. It was always what we said at the very beginning when this was happened. It doesn't matter what course the UK wants to try and set, we're going to end up back in the EU. It's only a matter of time. And as a lot of people have said, it's probably going to happen a lot faster than I think people really think. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, as always, thank you very much for all the support you guys show. And of course, again, links down below to help support the channel that way. And of course, we'll see you all next time.